We had two choices: shut down our company and return whatever investor money that we had left and call it a day, say we failed, or keep going and change what we were doing. My parents at this time were just like, dude, get a real job. You could be in investment banking, you could be in consulting. Action produces information. I think a lot of people talk about doing stuff and never do anything, and as a result they have no idea how it goes. The reason I'm able to do everything I'm doing today at the age of 25 is because I did like 70 other things that flopped, or like that introduced me to that one more person who knows somebody else that ended up being our first customer.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Real Ones. My name is Emad Hussein and I'm with your host, Joel Alexander. Hello, Joel.
Hi. You're taking over my show, bro.
Yeah,
What's going
welcome
on?
to The Real Ones.
You know, it feels very different sitting on this side. Like, I don't know which camera where to look at. Like,
Yeah.
So you just, like, the guest usually just stares at Zia. That's what's basically
yeah,
happening. Yeah.
You have been amazing and this show has been, people really have liked it so far.
I know.
And you've so far put out, like 20 plus episodes?
I mean, I think we were about 14, 15. I think you should improve your research as a podcast host.
We recorded more than 20 episodes.
Yes, we've recorded about 25, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But like you've always taken this chair. You've always interviewed people in in the real estate, like huge names in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
However, people want to know a little bit more about you, professional and on the personal side.
To be honest, I think it's just you, bro. But like, I'm here for.
Hey, people love you, man. You've been doing amazing.
I appreciate that.
How about let's start this the way you always start this.
Okay.
What did 7-year-old Joel want to be when he grew up?
It's so funny. I actually wanted to be a pilot at one point, right? Because we had this. So I was living in Saudi at the time, and that was where I did my. Like when I was 7, that's where I was. And we had this talent show kind of a thing, or rather a what do you want to be when you grow up kind of show. So I dressed up as a pilot because that was the easiest costume I think to find at the time. And I in fact used to call planes Falu instead of because it's flying like Falu. I don't know. Anyways, that's what I wanted to be when I was 7. And then as I grew up, I think there was a phase where I wanted to be a cricket player, and Mahendra Singh Dhoni is like a former Indian captain, like my icon kind of a thing. But I never really idolize celebrities or anything like that, but his composure and like the way that he's known as Captain Cool, like the guy never stresses, or rather never shows that he's stressing, very neutral in up or down, like very level, like something that I really look up to, I think. So I think that's really cool. And then at another point, I wanted to go to Juilliard and become an actor or a musician or something like that, because I was Peter Pan, a fat brown Peter Pan in a production. And then I directed my own thing called, I think it was Alice in the Wonderland. It's like a mix of Dorothy and Alice, whatever. So those were like the phases I had. And then my dad was like, go do accounting, beta.
You did.
Yeah. So, some version of that ended up doing accounting and finance in London. And then like after that, didn't want to do the whole banking route. So here we are.
Yeah, but actually, I want to touch up on like a few things you said. Like now in the entrepreneur world, like, do you see yourself as Captain Cool? Like, do you think you got like that traits or?
Honestly, no. Like, I don't think I'm ever aggressive in the context of my vocal expression. Like, I don't yell at people. I don't believe yelling achieves anything. I don't think shouting at employees and things like that is like a sustainable way to run a business. But at the same time, I think, it is kind of like I think I take a lot of the hits because I'm more like client facing, investor facing and things like that. So oftentimes as CEO, it's very like hard to, I want to protect my team, because it's so hard to keep momentum on building. When you're in the startup journey, a lot of people will look at your thing and say, oh, this is a failure, right? Like as in it's not making millions of dollars in revenue, it's a failure, right? Or you pivoted your business, you're a failure. And because of that, oftentimes I like to protect my team from hearing all of this, because when they're building, they need to be laser focused and they need to feel momentum. Like even when we get one user on, our product, basically, it'll be like let's say $136 cha-ching, like a Stripe notification, right? And even that excites us every single time it happens, right? First time we got it, I remember everyone was ecstatic. And those are the kind of momentum drivers that I want my team to feel. But I think ever since we pivoted our business from what it used to be to what it is today, I've been a little bit more transparent with them, because I want them to know that you don't want your leader to be like leading you into the wilderness without knowing what the downs are, especially when you've already had a bit of a down period, right? You'd rather be in it with them in the trenches, kind of a thing. So actively, I know that all of my team members want to know what shit is happening or what good things are happening. So I try to be as transparent as possible now, but still try to, at the end of the day, you are the CEO, and that comes with a level of responsibility that keeps you up at night.
You jump directly to your position as a CEO and your startup life. However, we'll go into that. We'll talk about Kendall. You're starting everything from the scratch. However, I want to start from the beginning. Because like the Joel we see today is not the Joel who was, a few years ago. I want to start. We actually have this in common. We both were born and raised in the UAE.
Yes, we were.
We're Dubai kids.
Let's go.
Yes. So my next question is, how do you feel about on this show, in this exact set, you said Ravi's and Cook is shy. I want to remind you about that in this moment.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry. Look, when you go abroad, I lived in London for about 6 years and then spent a little bit of time in New York and San Francisco as well. And as a result, you end up speaking to, especially when you speak to the British folks, like they always say Ravi's. You know what I'm saying? I went to Ravi's, or like I don't know if you saw this episode of MasterChef, like Australia. These guys just came to Dubai and they're like, yeah, my favorite restaurants are Hashmi's and Ravi's. And I ended up I had a guest that was British. So naturally my thing was like, oh, Ravi's. So that's what happened there.
Yeah, we held it against you for a while.
No, I know. But you've forgiven me, so you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but let's start from there. You studied high school in the UAE.
Yeah.
And then you went abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that's where your journey started in the business world?
Yeah. I think it just happened that I happened to be in another country when all of this happened. But let's just say academically speaking, and I never really talk about this on podcasts, but academically speaking, even though I went to LSE, and LSE is known to be like, top tier, creme de la creme, like, university for everyone, finance, etc. I was actually like bottom of the class, right? Like I think anyone that knew me from an academic standpoint will just be like, yeah, if you guys knew what he got in math, like, I would worry about the future of his company. But the point is, after my first year, basically had a massive like academic setback. And that's when I kind of realized that I don't really care about money in, money out every single month. And, driving a Ferrari once I'm like 45 or something and have made, let's say, executive director at JP Morgan, or, become a senior partner at some consulting firm and making like 4 mil a year or something like that. And then, living a good life later and having autonomy.
At what age did you realize this?
I think this was when I was probably 19 and a half, 20. And I think it's, again, like it's kind of just realizing that that's not what I wanted, as opposed to, I never knew what entrepreneurship was. I didn't know what venture capital was funding was. Like, I didn't understand any of this, right? I was just like everybody else in, growing up in Dubai. We did our grades. We wanted to achieve high grades, go to a good university, get a good job, live a happy life. And that's pretty much it. And then, your definition of what impact is and what autonomy is changes. And I've seen my parents go through the corporate ladder. I've seen so many other folks go through the corporate ladder. And never once have I regretted not going down that route. So yes, it's a shit show sometimes, but it's my shit show. So yeah.
Awesome. And you just said, at a certain point in 1920, you had zero knowledge of startups or everything you're doing now.
Yeah.
So for every 19-year-old who wants to start go into that field, how did your journey start?
So again, it wasn't rosy, and I said academic setback. I'll go into that at some point as well, like, at a later date when I'm actually successful.
Hey,
But for
you're on
now,
the way. You know that.
I appreciate that. But I used to get up at like 5 a.m. every single day, go running around the Waterloo stretch through Buckingham Palace and Trafalgar, etc. That was like my route. And the reason I did that, the reason I bring that up is I think I needed routine and discipline before I like got ideas. You know what I'm saying? I think it's always easy to get ideas and not execute on them. Like, oh, I thought of that 4 years ago, but someone else did it. You didn't do it, right? Um, so for me, it was just like getting into the habit of trying to get a little bit better every single day. And this was at my academics, not at startup stuff at all. It just so happened that I was like, running this India Society in university. I thought if I became president of the India Society in university, I'll become prime minister of India. You know what I'm saying? That's what you think when you go to LSE. World is not like that, and it's just throwing a bunch of parties. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I quit. Like, this means nothing to me anymore. I was VP of the thing. I just quit. And I was like, I would like to devote my time to working with nonprofits who are benefiting, sort of real people in need in India, right? So what we were doing at Project Access, which is what I headed up for India, it was kind of helping children from socioeconomically diverse backgrounds, connecting them to opportunities for like soft loans and things like that. And we were dealing with Novartis, Unilever, et cetera, trying to get these kids soft loans to have an education abroad in the US and UK. Not that you need to go abroad to have a good education or anything like that, but it was just like what we were doing at the time. So nonprofits was my entry into the startup world. And there's something called Slack. I don't know if you use Slack. Yes. So it's basically, for those that don't know, it's kind of like an internal communication tool for a company. Think of it like a WhatsApp chat with a bunch of different channels, basically, right? But for work. And that's the first time I saw, I think it was 236 people in a Slack,
A group.
Slack group. And I was like, wait, there's 236 people in 20 different countries trying to help underprivileged children get access to the same privileges that we've been afforded by whatever circumstance and things like that. I've been trying to do good in the world. Some of them were there to improve their applications for masters or get a better job, but there was quite a lot of people that was just there to help others. And I think that resonated with me. And I was just like, this university society stuff is BS. Go outside of your university, connect on a cause, basically, let's say, in this case, supporting children in your home country and basically doing good for the world. And the other people that you meet are like-minded individuals. So you tend to kind of, gravitate towards each other. And they're all from different universities, different backgrounds. But yeah, this idea of being in a Slack group with so many other people from so many countries, I was just like, this is amazing. And then just kept doing it. And every time I saw a problem after that, I was like, okay, I need to fix this, right? So because of doing this Project Access thing that I was head of India for, I got recognized by this thing called the Forbes 30 under 30 scholar program, right? It's not the actual thing, it's the BTech version. No, but it's kind of like the kind of stepping stone to something like that, I guess. And there was only 3 people that got selected from the UK for this at the time, perhaps out of 1,000. And perhaps that's because only 3 people thought that they could get into a US program sitting in the UK. And then we got this, and I was just like, oh shoot, but now I have to pay for my tickets to Detroit for the conference. I have to pay for my hotels. How am I going to do that? All this thing costs thousands of dollars. And I did something that a lot of my friends at the time told me would be impossible. I went to the university, I went to my department, I was like, guys, I just got recognized by Forbes in a very small capacity. I'm probably 19, 20 years old. This is kind of big for me. I'd really like it if you could support me. Flying Virgin Atlantic, staying at a really nice hotel, and they put me up. And never in the history of that department did you really see people going out of their comfort zone, especially accounting kids. We don't do that, right? Go in and be like, hey, I would like something outside of the box. And then they give. And then I was like, wait, this is a bit of a hack. You just ask them for money and they give you money? Okay, let's do it again, right? there's a conference called One Young World. This is where Richard Branson, Meghan Markle, all these folks, like they're called One Young World ambassadors, where it's like corporates meets nonprofits, and they're all working to solve good, like, working together for the good. There's someone, not Malala, that was shot in the head, and like, that was kind of there promoting education awareness in Afghanistan, like, all this, like, people with real stories and real problems, right? That's who were there. And I was there because of the education thing. It cost almost £9,000 for 3 students to attend, right? And I was going to attend alone initially, but they said that unless you are benefiting, and this is not the accounting, this is the students' union, they were like, you need to benefit more of the community. So you have to go there, take the learnings, come back, give the learnings to the rest of the students. But that meant that I got to meet a executive director at JP Morgan who cares about, climate, who cares about, gender equality, all these kind of things, and just connect on that instead of being like, hey, bro, please give me internship. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we just started
like
meeting.
Every other 19, 20-year-old.
Exactly, right? And that's all we want to do. We were just like hustling to get internships at the time. But like, it kind of showed me like, wait, why do I have this opportunity to meet someone who's years ahead of me and learn from them and, still be able to level with them? That was kind of crazy to me. So that's kind of like, we had the project access thing, we got the Forbes thing, we got this One Young World conference. And at this conference, there was this panel where they were talking about ethical fashion. And they were like, sustainable fashion cannot be produced at scale. And I was just like, that's ridiculous. So you're saying that all sustainable clothes are going to be expensive and they're not accessible to the general consumer? Then how do you expect people to switch to sustainable fashion, right? So then I got so pissed off at that I went home that night. I was working with my friend Gokul, and it was just like, we were trying to figure out how to start a sustainable fashion startup. So this is a very long journey. You can tell me to shut up.
No, keep going, please.
Yeah. So we started a company called Fursa, which means opportunity in Arabic, as you know. And it was just kind of trying to blend pineapple leaves for leather, for shoes, and a hemp fabric for hoodies. And we tried to put together this team of fashion folks, design folks, marketing folks, and try to do something together. Bombed like crazy, like was not great. And then because the pandemic hit and we couldn't sell anything, felt wrong to do so. But that's when the giving movement came out, fun fact. So it's just like, for me, I was like, we missed a wave there. But straight after that, I started a consulting, like pro bono consulting company, just to help businesses that were struggling during the pandemic because everyone was laying off folks. A lot of students that had internships got their internships canceled. And we were trying to divide, sort of bridge these two things. Yes. And that's when we started this company called Reshape Co. And that was just kind of like helping businesses through a tough time. And we got backed by Microsoft for this. We got backed by Shazam, the founder of Shazam, Dheeraj Mukherjee, for this. And I was like, what's going on, right? We had 210 people volunteering to support businesses during a very difficult time. And I was like, I didn't know shit about consulting, right? How am I able to mobilize this many people? And I had 4 co-founders, including Sheen, who also films here. And we were just people looking to do good in a time that was very difficult for everyone else. But eventually all of this stuff wore out and I realized, shit, my friends had graduated and I was like, I now need to figure out how to make money because I'm graduating in a few months' time. And I withdrew all of my graduate job applications from all the big companies and things like that. I was like, screw it. I only want to do this. I want to build something. And I was reading some article about how women are not getting sufficient funding in venture capital. It says 2.3% of venture capital funding was going to women. And there's worse stats about when they're not co-founded with male teams, et cetera, et cetera. So we built Tinder plus TikTok for crowdfunding. And then...
you have to explain that part.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, okay, so if more women need investment, more women need to be investing. Right? Otherwise, the problem is that more men are at the investing table and not women. Yep. So we're like, okay, cool. Let's create this app where people can just swipe on people to invest in. But turns out it's not as easy as dating, and people take investments a lot more seriously. But anyways, got some initial momentum on that idea. Started pitching at different competitions, and didn't really work out. So we pivoted to something else. And that was kind of investing in content creators. we were like, content creators can hardly make any money today. Yes, a bunch of them shoot these podcasts and things like that, but that's because they're supporting it with some job that they already have. But how does a Justin Bieber who's playing guitar on the streets end up going to, sort of be a worldwide success, right? And what if you could have the entry level for starting a podcast? You guys know how much it costs to rent the studio for 1 hour, then to edit the videos, etc. It costs money, right? So if the entry level bar is getting higher for podcasting, for music, for art,
for
etc.
entertainment.
Yeah, for entertainment, it's getting higher and higher. Then you need to support those creators to get there, right? So if you believe in someone, instead of tipping them $1, you should be able to invest in them. Yeah. That was our concept. So that's what we were building. It's kind of like Patreon, but on blockchain.
Yes.
And then I got a £5,000, which is 25,000 dirhams rough. From my university. Shout out LSE.
LSE have supported you through the years.
Yeah. I mean, I probably got most ROI out of my education than anybody else that went there in recent history. But yeah, and then that is what I had for 6 months. And we had a team of 3 at the time, right? So my co-founder Drishti, and at the time founding engineer Harman, now co-founder Harman. And basically I was working 2 part-time jobs. So one job was lifting tables and chairs at LSE, like, just moving careers, fair vibes. And the other one was working for a creator economy company that had raised $2.4 million, $2.3 million, something like that. And basically it was just like, this amazing like creator economy company started by this guy who worked with Masa, SoftBank, who funded WeWork, $40-something billion something company at a time, right? Yeah. So he had like gone in to restructure this company. I learned so much from him, and I started this podcast on. I think it was a little like online tool or something like that, and I reached out to so many people, and very few people responded to me because I wanted to interview startup CEOs. Like, how are you doing this, right? Like, how are you able to get so much funding? Like, like, how is this happening? I don't understand this world because I wasn't raised in Silicon Valley, right? And surely, like, I started shortly after that, I started like learning how these guys did it. How did they hire their first people? How did they get their first $100,000? How did they get their first check? And like, how do you build something that's never been sort of like commercialized before? And next thing you know, we've been going for about 6 months, and my parents at this time are just like, dude, get a real job. Like, what are you doing? You could be in investment banking. You could be in consulting. Why are you trying to struggle? I was like, please, give me 1 year. I will make this a thing. And that was, I graduated June 7th or 8th or something like that. And then I was working part-time literally from the next day. And then November, I think 27, 28, something like that, we get our first $125,000 check from an accelerator in San Francisco. Yeah.
That must have felt good.
Yeah, it felt, I've never seen 6 figures in my bank account before that, right? And again, company bank account, but like, whatever. That's kind of how the first check kind of came through. And it was to build that idea that I was talking about earlier, the creator investing kind of platform. And then 6 months after that, we raised $2.5 million. And we had checks in between. So I've raised close to $2.8 million in venture capital funding right now. But shit hit the fan about 6 months later when the entire crypto market crashed. A lot of people lost money. FTX happened. And the macro sentiment just like got crushed. So we had 2 choices.
How was it being in the startup world at that moment?
It's kind of interesting, right? You hear about all these things, the 2008 financial crisis, Silicon Valley bank runs, and like, the COVID stuff that happened, FTX, all these things. And you look at it from afar, it's like, it doesn't really impact my life. It's like, someone else is dealing with it. But when you're running the shop that's getting, it's kind of one of the platforms that you've built on and just falls from beneath your feet. It's like going in like a wild wadi, like rocket ride down. You know what I'm saying? That's what it feels like. But yeah, it was hard. And I just thought that I didn't know what to do at the time, to be very honest. So we had 2 choices: shut down our company and return whatever investor money that we had left and call it a day, say we failed, or keep going and change what we were doing, because what we were doing then will not be something that can be, commercially viable at scale for another 6 to 7 years, in my opinion, right? So that's kind of what I had to do. And we tried like 6 different things. None of them worked.
Yep.
And then it was, I think, June, July last year that I meet, like that we had this one customer from DC who like was in real estate, right? And I met him at some brunch thing or something like that in Dubai.
Yeah.
And then he became a customer of our product. He wasn't really using it, but he was paying for it because he just had too much going on. And so I was kind of in real estate at that point, servicing a DC customer from Dubai, right? And then I go to London for the summer and I meet a gentleman called Daniel Daggers, who has a Netflix show today called Buying London.
Yes.
And he's like, Joel, where are you working out of? And I was like, my living room. That's just how startup people do it. He's like, no, shut up. Come to my office. Work out of my office. And then I start working out of his office and I start speaking to some of his agents because I like, I don't know, someone asked me to help me fix their Mac or something like that. And then I was like, perfect. Now I can, designated brown guy getting his opportunity. Like, let's talk to them and ask questions about like real estate. They're really good at selling, but I thought there was so many, rooms that we could effectively enhance efficiency by technology. And they were actually doing very well compared to a lot of the brokerages that were, elsewhere in the world, like in the US, etc. And when I came out here, I was like, wait, there's a massive opportunity to do real estate technology. So that's
how you got into prop tech, into the real estate.
Yeah, it's a long story, bro. I'm sorry.
Nah, I enjoyed it. This is a perfect opportunity to jump and talk about Kendall.
Yes, yeah.
This technically, your last sentence is what started Kendall.
Yeah.
Kendall AI. Okay, for everyone that doesn't know what Kendall AI is, just give us a brief summary, like rundown of how it works and what it is.
Yeah, so the Middle East and North Africa, and actually, to be fair, even Europe, to a certain extent, runs on WhatsApp. We do a lot of our business on WhatsApp, and I think, like, across real estate, fashion, tech, whatever, like, in the MENA region, you need WhatsApp, right? Otherwise, that's where documents are sent, business is being done, it's just happening.
It's the new email.
Exactly, it's the new email. And the problem is that brokerages, real estate brokerages, don't have a way to kind of actively track, monitor, and engage leads on WhatsApp. And that's a problem because every time you miss a lead, you miss $30,000 in commission. Imagine me telling you you're missing 100,000 dirhams in commissions just because your program coordinator is going home at 5 p.m. And then from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m., nobody's looking at your leads. And there's 5,200 brokerages in Dubai, and you're just going to go to another one. So it's like, do you want to miss that lead or do you want to be actively qualifying that lead? So what Kendall does to walk you through the journey is that, we have 4 core pillars to our product. We have a website builder for real estate agents. After studying about 100 real estate websites, we were like, these are the things that an agent would need and they can update this no code, right? So they can completely just on their own upload photos, change text, add their blogs, etc., without doing anything. And it's optimized for real estate and integrated with our WhatsApp bot. So once they have this website up and running, we help them run performance marketing on those particular, sort of websites. And we run performance max campaigns for them, which is a new type of marketing campaign, right? And those leads come into the WhatsApp bot and they're actively qualifying using natural language, AI, and effectively you're trying to figure out what a person wants. So let's say Emad wants a $40 million home on the Palm, needs to be red. He's ready to close in 2 months. So the next morning when you're picking up the phone, you're not just calling the same people that everyone on Property Finder or any other platform is calling. You're talking to someone that actually wants to talk to you. And then you have the summary of their lead. You're talking to them like, hey, Emad, I realized you wanted a $40 million home on the Palm. And that is a much more meaningful conversation than be like, Emad, hi, myself from X brokerage. Do you want to talk? Like,
do you have free time?
Do you have free time? Like, I was just wondering,
yeah, absolutely.
No. You know what I'm saying? So once that lead's qualified, you speak to them. It goes to be a part of your CRM, which is completely integrated with WhatsApp effectively. And then it's about nurturing those leads because the best customers are repeat customers. You need to be wishing them happy birthday. You need to show that you give a shit, right? And not just not so genuine, automated stuff. You're just going to get a reminder that says, hey, don't forget, it's Ahmad's birthday tomorrow. And then you're just going to wish them on their birthday. Which podcast studio am I going to choose? the one that gives a shit about me as a person.
Yes.
Because let's be honest, like technology, everything that everyone does is commoditized. Everyone can do it. The only difference is distribution and relationship that you have with the person. Relationships is such a key in real estate, right? So if you're wishing them happy birthday, you're sending them a market update report saying, Emad, your house on the Palm could now sell for, because the neighbor's house just sold for 26 million. Then you're thinking about, okay, maybe I could sell now because it's actually a good price. So you get updated on those things. Your leads are nurtured. So your leads are generated. They're, managed and nurtured. And then as a result, you end up closing a lot more volume. So just by closing like one deal, you pay for the whole product and more and much more.
Well, actually, this is why I wanted to ask you, like, there's especially like prop tech and real estate, there's so many AIs right now and like in so many technologies, but like there's most of them are like trying to replace the agent.
Yeah.
You didn't go that route. You went a completely different route.
Yeah.
Why is that? And do you think that makes Kendal special?
I think it does to a certain extent, but like that's just shooting my own horn, to be honest. But
hey, it's your show. You get to do that.
I guess, yeah. But like the point is that I think what people don't understand is that for most people, buying real estate is not just like, oh, 50 million here, 100 million there, 200 million there. That's just like, some selling sunset version of that, right? For most people, real estate is the biggest choice that they will ever make in their like entire lifespan. The home that you buy is where you raise your kids. It's where all of your biggest moments and memories in life happen. And for that transaction, you can't just, have AI kind of do it. You need someone that understands you as an individual, takes care of the sentimental aspects of a purchase, because it's not all about fundamentals and financials.
You're famous for having a quote during sales pitches. It's people buy from people.
Yeah.
And why do you say that in practically every sales pitch you do?
Yeah. I mean, think about this podcast, right? Like, why did I start a podcast? Do you think I'm a saint for giving airtime to brokerage owners for free? Or like, like initially it was completely free. And like the point is that I was just trying to talk to them and get to know who they really are. And I had one of my guests the other day post on their Instagram saying like Joel cares about my story and he cares about the industry, not just like what he wants to sell. Because almost exclusively, I will never ever on this podcast talk about what we've just talked about. I never talk about me as much as possible. I never talk about the product that we're trying to sell. Again, like, to a very granular extent. I'm always asking the other person about their story, what their advice is, those kind of things. And the reality is that people feel really good about themselves when they're talking about their journey. I feel great right now. You know what I'm saying? And as a result, at the end of that conversation, I'm like, okay, fine. Emad, what's the name of your podcast going to be? What's the name of your future product going to be? What do you actually do? Right? Because at that point, I filtered out the BS and known that the kind of questions he's asking is not stupid. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah. And once you've been given that credibility, you're like, okay, I trust this person, therefore I will buy from them. And in the Middle East, especially in Dubai, I believe that this is a very, very important factor. You buy from people, you don't just buy products. Because everyone has products, everyone has technology. What we're building is unique to maybe a few people, but I don't believe what we're building is unique. I think that everything has been done before. I think everything is like not unique. And the only difference is the people behind it. So therefore, yeah, people buy from people.
Following up, my next question, I guess, is like, why do you think Kendal is very important to real estate? And following a follow-up question is like, where do you think Kendal will be in the next 10 years if the real estate market stayed in the same trajectory?
Yeah. So why is Kendal important to real estate?
Yes.
So that's the first one. Honestly, I think that a lot of inefficiency exists in the real estate market today. Yes, sales are great and, things are going really well for Dubai real estate, especially. But at the same time, there's a lot of inefficiency in the context that when I'm a broker, I should be spending all of my time, talking to customers, meeting them for coffee, trying to close a deal, like these kind of things, not sitting behind my laptop and updating my CRM the whole time. Here on Kendal, you basically just text your WhatsApp bot and update the CRM, right? So if I'm at a viewing with you, I'll be like, oh, Emad, like this about the house, that about the house, send. Or voice note that into my CRM.
Is it time that makes it so valuable?
Yeah, the time that you save and the sort of like lack of headache that you have so that you can use your brain space for other things. And being super organized that you have automated reminders, all these things set up in place. And when you look at the market, Today, every other CRM that's in the market today is either owned by, let's say, a portal, or it's owned by a company that's, got nothing to do with Dubai. It's not built by someone that grew up here. It's not built by someone that understands this industry, has spent the actual 25 hours, 30 hours talking to every single brokerage owner in the business and understands their pain points better than anybody else. I know like all the tea, bro.
Hey.
And that gives me a unique vantage point to really sort of build a product that makes sense for all these brokerages. And I think most other brokerages like like your CRMs like Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever, like these guys aren't like coming here and doing the work for that because they're a horizontal product. We're building a vertical product. What that means is today we're focusing on the CRM component. Tomorrow, we're going to enable things like property management. We're going to, think about what tokenization of real estate looks like. All these different components of the real estate industry, that's what I care about. So initially, did I care about real estate? Probably not, right? It was the one thing that we couldn't afford, right? That's what real estate was. Yeah. But today, the people in the industry have made me like so excited. We actually have, if you look at my LinkedIn, there's this thing called my real estate aunties, right? Yeah. My real estate aunties are the best. They're the number one, right? Like all of you think of, I'm going to miss some names now, but Sylvia Aldawi, literally, she runs her own podcast and was on the podcast super early on. We have Lynette Saketo. She was head of data at like one of the biggest brokerages and Property Finder as well. And then we had Majdal Musa, Dunya Fadi, and we had so many other folks that have just come on here and shared endless amounts of wisdom and knowledge.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt, but just like shout out to the real estate aunties and like shout out to them catching you, like coming late to the Tony Robbins.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was so bad. That was so bad.
Insert the clip again.
No, but so what happened was with the Tony Robbins thing, I was invited by someone at the event or whatever. And then when I went to the event, there's like 2,000-3,000 people there. And I don't know where to sit because, I'm not an agent. I don't have a brokerage to sit with. And then I just texted Majdal. It's like, hey, where you guys at? Like, I'll come say hi. And she was just like, we're on table 6 in the front next to Tony Robbins. I go up to the table and Tony Robbins kind of blocking the only 2 free chairs. And I'm like, bro, can you please... Like, can I sit? And then that's how that happened, basically. But wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my real estate aunties. Yeah,
absolutely. Shout out to them. You briefly discussed for the future of Kendal.
Yeah.
Just before you, where do you want to see Kendal in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Please go.
I think being a startup founder, you're very, especially someone who's had to pivot their business or has had a failed business and things like that. I've had many failed opportunities like that. You realize that 10-year plans don't really last or don't really work, Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, I know exactly what we're building in the next 10 years because the next 3 months, literally, the long-term trajectory can change. The immediate marginal improvement in product doesn't change too much because it's being used a lot. But I think, to be honest, I just want to be able to, it'd be so strange for me to say I'm so passionate about increasing efficiency or something like that. But I want to make sure that brokers are, able to spend all their time on meaningful work and not on busy work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I care about that because I care about the brokers. I care about like the people that are behind these stories, as have them on here. Very, very lovely folks. And I think at the end of the day, it's about more than just sort of real estate, because through this sort of industry, you end up meeting some of the most brilliant people in the world. And I think that opportunity is super, super exciting. And I'm sure Kendal can get into a plethora of avenues, through that. So yeah, to summarize, I don't know what the product will look like in 10 years. If we've done our job right, agents are spending all their time doing meaningful work and not busy work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We wish you, from the Poddster team, we wish you all the best.
No, I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Just like to summarize, like I'll go back to your questions.
Yeah.
What's a quote that means a lot to you?
This is a tough one.
Hey, I'm stealing your questions.
I know. Right. Okay, I have one. So basically, yeah, action produces information. right? I think a lot of people talk about doing stuff and never do anything. And as a result, they have no idea how it goes. They just kind of logically map everything out. Oh, I'm X person. These are my demographics. I make this much money. I'm from this country. I live in this place. I know only these people. Therefore, I will not be able to do something, self-cancel. The sort of life hack is really being able to do the things that you say that you're going to do, see them through, and then realize the compounded learnings from everything. The reason I'm able to do everything I'm doing today at the age of 25 is because I did like 70 other things that flopped, or like that introduced me to that one more person who knows somebody else that ended up being our first customer, you know? So I think it's like a lot of people talk and don't do. I think it's just about acting on your dreams and realizing that life is freaking short. Life is so short, right? So it's like you should spend it not being, pardon my French, someone else's, but, doing the things that make you happy, right? And I'm not saying everyone should be a founder or anything like that, but you should be given autonomy. You should be given freedom to kind of, one day, let's say you need to take your kid to school. You should be able to drop your kid to school, right? Let's say that someone in your family is not well. You should be able to fly out to another country to, go and be there with them. Because the important things in life are really, sort of looking after your loved ones and spending as much time as possible with them. So that's kind of like why I think, acting on your sort of dreams produces information, and information produces more actions, and so on.
Absolutely well said.
Yeah, I mean that's not original, by the way. Brian Chesky,
of course, but like
nothing is original.
It goes back to your story.
Yeah.
You're a doer. At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
It was like that. If I need, it was like less. I hope people got to know you a little bit better, and you got to share a little bit more of your story. Yeah. But like we stick to the real ones. Who do you want? Who's your dream guest on the real ones?
I think I can get every guest that I want to get. Right?
How about let's do this? Living or dead, dream guest, have a sit-down conversation with. Who would it be? Living or dead?
I don't really have any dream guests, to be honest. I don't really aspire to people at all.
Not gonna lie, I expected you to have an answer.
I
expected you to say like Elon Musk or those stuff.
Oh, I don't give a shit. Like, I really don't give a shit. I mean, it'd be great if Elon sits down with me or whatever and we talk about something, but I don't care about famous people at all, right? And I don't care about geniuses or anything like that. I think it's amazing. You learn a lot from them, but that's it, right? I think as a podcast host, you at some point realize like, oh, everyone comes in here, they like talk about themselves, et cetera, et cetera. That's about it, right? Like, it's not really... I don't really have any dream guests. Maybe Jesus.
Yeah, that'd be a good episode.
That'd be a good guess. So that's about it.
You heard it first. The best guest is yourself.
Hey.
Maybe.
No, not at all. But yeah, man. Like, I think that people aspire to the wrong things. You're like, you aspire to having Lambos and fancy titles and things like that. Like, you really need to look within, because every human being is so special. Everyone you can learn something from. That's why I would rather have a normal person who isn't like a fancy celebrity or something like that sitting across from me, learn about their story, their life. Because I think, even if you go to a new country today, when you live in Dubai, like, and you go elsewhere, nothing impresses you, right? Absolutely. So it's just like the people that impress you, the culture, the sort of warmth, the hospitality. That's it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yo, Alexander, thank you so much.
Thank you, Emad.
I hope your next guest will be as entertaining as you.
I think it'd be a tough one to top. Good luck. Yes, I'll ask the right questions.
Thank you so much, my man.
Pleasure, bro. Thank you.